Hello, everybody. It's time for another episode of Grant Draws. I'm sure you guys all recognize my guest tonight. As always, we are sponsored by the Independent Creator Directory. Brian, I'm sure you know what the Independent Creator Directory is, correct?
Indeed, I do, and in fact, I am a member of it. But launch into your promotion.
Well, I know right now it's down.
Yeah.
Um, but Joe Bachman is the creator of the Independent Creator Directory. And essentially, what it is it's like the Internet Movie Database, but for independent creators. You don't have to be a novelist, you don't have to be a comic book creator. Artists are on there, game developers are on there, all types of different creative people. It's cool. And as I said, he's overhauling it currently, but when it's back up, you can talk to him. You can talk to Joe Bachman now, and make sure you're in on it when it comes back up. If you don't mind, I am gonna go through the comments kind of quickly.
Please do. I was hoping you would. I see some good friends. Dan, see you in
Dan,
about 2 Saturdays from now.
that's right. You guys are all getting together for HollowsCon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and just drive down there.
Yeah, I can write you a note if you need to get out of anything.
Carl's also saying
Hey,
hello.
Carl.
Donna
Hi,
is saying
Donna. Mwah. Missed you guys.
Donna's saying don't forget to like and share, folks, because she's much better at my job than I am.
It's true. It's true. Please like and share.
She's saying hi, Dan and WD. WD is not WD-40. WD stands for Witzman, dude.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
And
Hey, Donna. Mwah. Love you, hun.
she's saying hi to
Hope you're
Grant
feeling better.
PKM.
You're feeling better.
Carl's also saying hi. Dan is confused.
It's Grant. His name is Grant. Okay, let's not get Dan. Let's not get confused.
And Carl is saying that you're going to get to meet him next week. So you've never met Dan in real life?
I have to reintroduce myself every year, but that's
Oh.
more a matter of how much my renown has spread in the South. So,
Believe it or not, I actually have met Brian in real life.
yeah, we met. We had dinner at Burgertory.
That's right.
Yes, a fine meal.
Dan is saying even hacks like, oh, he's saying independent creative directory even lets hacks like me in. Oh, okay.
Dan
It took
takes
me
pride in being a hack because when the artistic types don't meet the deadlines, you and I are the ones that get called on.
So Donna's saying moi, which I'm
Mwah.
assuming
Love you,
means
Donna. Oh,
that you.
miss you so much. You and Carl both.
So one thing I did want to do, if you don't mind, I did want to mention that I do have a Kickstarter going on. I'll make this quick.
Please do talk about it.
I mean, technically speaking, this helps you too because you're a part of this.
That's true. A very minuscule part.
For those of you who don't know, Brian is the editor for this. I think you've been the editor since day one, right? Since the very first volume.
I don't think I edited the first issue, but I've been consulting on this and making comments and what they used to call blue pencil stuff. But yeah, I've seen the stories, and I'm not saying this because he's here or he's having me on. There's some really strong stories in this issue that you are going to love. You really are.
Thank you so much, Brian. Yeah, I think
You're welcome.
I can tell you I'm very proud of my story, and I think some of the other stories are pretty good too.
They really
Um,
are.
Now, not all of the stories are 100% finished. You know me, I like to have them 100% finished when I go
Right.
to Kickstarter, but I am confident that they are going to be done not long after the Kickstarter is over.
Good. Good.
So I have a feeling everybody who's here is already backed, but uh, if you guys haven't, please check it out. Now, Dan is saying even electroshock therapy is unable to make me forget Brian and Grant.
Yeah, I've had it times, and he still remembers me.
Makes the ganglia twitch. Oh my goodness. Believe it or not, they still do electroshock in extreme cases. You know that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do know that. Plus a lobotomy every now and then. Every now and then, medicine likes to dip back into the 1800s and make sure it all works. Next will be the leeches.
Isn't that crazy?
It
Um,
is.
so now we were talking a little bit before the show began about
Yes,
how insanely busy you are right now, Brian.
just
Um,
a little.
so, do you want to bring up some of the things that are making you busy at the moment?
Oh well, just to give you an idea, except for this one, this is what I've had released with my name on it just this year.
Wow.
4 different books. With another one, I still got to get my sale copies of. But um, when I started doing this full time back in 2012, I envisioned a time when, or actually, I hoped for a time when I was just busy. I lacked for nothing to do. That my services as a writer would be in demand. Um, and I have achieved the dream. I haven't achieved the high paycheck that I thought would be associated with this yet, but from humble acorns, etc. But yeah, I tell people I worked hard to be this overworked. Uh, and I also quoted Dean R. Kuntz to Grant before the show. He told somebody one time, "Once a pauper, always poor." Or maybe once poor, always a pauper. But the idea is that there was a time when somebody say, "Hey, Brian, do you want to write?" And I just go, "Yes." It didn't matter what it was, and it led to some opportunities. It led to being able to say yes, meet a deadline, not be a total jerk about the whole process. And Grant is over here going, "When did you stop being a jerk about the process?" But anyway, the idea is you do the good work, you show up, you do what you're supposed to do, you help out, and eventually it's like the law of attraction. Things start coming to you. Publishers and editors and other writers do talk about each other. I know because I'm part of those gossip chains too. But you can often, if you do it right, can get on the good side of the gossip. And
Right,
apparently,
right.
that's what I've done so far. I'm glad to say.
So yeah, so I can see what you're saying. So uh, now, has there been times where you said yes to something, and after you said yes, you were like, "Oh boy, why did I say yes to that?"
hmm More than once. Sometimes it's an impossible deadline, or something comes up to make you, uh, th- you know, maybe think you're going to blow the deadline. I've only blown like a couple deadlines in 25 years, so I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, or sometimes you get into a project where you think you know the basic concept of it, and then you get into it and you wait for all the neurons to fire that'll like generate the story, and nothing, tumbleweeds in your brain. So that has happened. Fortunately, uh, I've managed to get through all. I haven't had that happen too often, but I have managed to get through it, mostly because I have a newspaper background, and nothing gets the adrenaline going like the looming specter of the deadline as it approaches. So I've been fortunate in that regard.
Right. So you're able to kind of generate ideas even when you kind of when it feels like the gas tank is on empty. You have to sit down sometimes and like brainstorm ideas,
Mhm.
and that I mean that's something that maybe a lot of writers aren't necessarily trained to do. But like you said, you have deadlines.
Right. Deadlines help, and I actually had writer's block. You hear about writer's block. which is basically you can't come up with anything to write about. And I actually had it earlier this year, right after I had open heart surgery back in January. And aside from the fact that I think I was doped up a little for about 2 weeks, that I had started working on a new novel, which I'm at the tail end of right now, but I just couldn't get anything going. I
Mm.
couldn't make the next move, and it lasted about 2 or 3 weeks. The thing is, I also treat this writing gig as a real job, and I have to remind myself that back when I worked in the 9 to 5 world, sometimes even if you're a manager, you gotta clean out the toilets. So I sat down behind the keyboard one day and I told myself, I'm just going to start writing and let my craft, my knowledge of craft, try to pull me through it. And I started writing, and with the idea that it would either be good and I could keep it, or we could edit out the bad parts, or we could just pull the whole thing out and save it for another project perhaps, or use it as a springboard for another project, or just throw the whole thing out. And all
Yeah.
I've done is just limber up my fingers, which ain't a bad thing. And after a while the mojo started coming back. But yeah, I think, and as far as ideas go, I think once you train yourself to look for ideas, I heard somebody say years ago, if you can't come up with at least 3 story ideas from just reading the front section of your newspaper, you're not trying.
Right.
Or you can turn to some other inspiration, like a TV show. Do you like Supernatural? Well, maybe you get an idea for 2 brothers roaming the country looking for spooky stuff, or you go to a movie that you like, or I even tell people um, about music. Like, I gave a friend, a writing prompt when he was stuck, several months ago, like, from Penny Lane. On Penny Lane, there's a barber showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know, and he still has most of them. That got him going. Pulled him out of his writer's block, and he completed the story. And he's just waiting to do his final edit, then we're gonna take a look at it and, tear his soul apart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I remember, back when I was writing songs, some of the best
Mhm.
lyrics I came up with were misheard lyrics from other songs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, or you can just um, take somebody else's idea as a jumping off point. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Mhm. Yeah,
like maybe even
and
sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead,
I was
please.
going to say maybe like a background character from a book that you're reading. Maybe you think like, oh, he or she is more interesting than the main character. Maybe I'll write their story.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, there's always things like the public domain, hashtag always promote. Um,
Right.
so everybody's waiting for it. We got it out of the way. But yeah, and what was it? I think Neil Gaiman, for instance, who's not a popular name these days to quote, but he wrote Beowulf, and also John Gardner back in the 70s wrote a book of the classic tale of the prototype hero, but from Grendel's point of view.
Right.
And there's a lot of inspiration you can get from other people's work and still not plagiarize. So yeah, it's wherever you can get inspiration, I say run with it.
Well, I don't know anything about Beowulf, but
Yeah.
um,
It was a short-lived DC comic.
right.
That's it. No,
You know,
I read it long ago.
I was gonna say, I mean, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, yeah, public domain is great.
Hmm.
Um, myths,
Yeah.
myths are great. Like, I mean, the great thing about myths is, if you have a comic book that's based on a myth or a book,
Mhm.
um, that's like 90% of the work done for you, right? Like,
Right.
then you don't have to name all the characters. You can just take other characters from
Mhm.
the myths. I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah, and it gives a touch point for the reader that they see something that's somewhat familiar, and it gives them a reason to gravitate towards it. They do that in Hollywood all the time. Um, like Gene Roddenberry is famous for his pitch for the original Star Trek, which was Wagon Train Among the Stars, which was a very popular TV Western at the time. But they visited a different town every episode.
Right.
Except this time Gene just put it in space, and we have now a cultural icon to thank Roddenberry for. But yeah, anything is fair game as far as inspiration goes. So yeah.
So I'm gonna read a few of these, a few more chats. Dan is saying I do household wiring and sometimes I flip the wrong circuit breaker.
Mhm.
Oh, good lord!
Yeah.
Please don't tell me that, Dan. You're scaring me. And Dan says, once you're trained to live poor, you can survive any hard times.
That's probably true.
Dan, here's a question for you, Brian.
Yes.
Do
yes.
characters ever tell you they're just not going to talk to you anymore?
Well, I want to separate this from the voices in my head. Okay, that's two distinct things, but that's kind of funny. The first thing I ever had published once I went full time was a Bloodshot from Valiant Comics pastiche that we were allowed to do through a program on Kindle.
Right.
And-
I saw you mention that earlier, like not too long ago.
Yeah, it's coming back. There is a way, but anyway, I used to tell the story about how I created 4 characters because according to the terms of the contract with Valiant, any characters I created, they would have the rights to. And I got, my ego was flaring one day when I plotted the thing. I'm not going to let them have it. I've got the next Superman here. Yeah, right, Brian. But I wrote the way the story is supposed to go, that in the next to last chapter, all 4 of these characters were to die horribly in a fire. Just no way they're coming back. I was going to show the bodies in the last chapter. And then, of course, I tell people I'm a plotter who doesn't look at the outline once he starts writing. So I start writing, look at the plot, write, look at the plot, write, finish the end of the chapter. Then as I'm sizing up what I have to wrap up in the last chapter, I see that one of the characters had saved himself. And I thought, well, if you've worked that hard to save yourself, buddy, you're in the sequel. But the thing is, I told this story one time to a dear friend of mine, Sorella Smith, and she lectured me about, as a writer, do not allow yourself to think that your characters are pushing you, that they are directing you. You, as the writer, are in control of it, and you should not give up that credit, that responsibility, or blame in some cases, to something that doesn't exist. You need to own the work entirely and take pride in it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you agree or disagree with that?
It's really, I got to see what she was telling me, because it's really easy to say in some cases. Somebody said, well, I didn't like what that character did. Oh, that was them. That was their responsibility. They did the whole thing. In this case, every word that comes out of these fingers is my responsibility in the end. And so I like the fact that I'm owning it. And, for some people, if you want to think that your characters are telling you what to do, that's fine. That's it's whatever gets you to put your butt in the seat and start tapping on the keys or start drawing, whatever creative task you have, whatever gets you to do it, keep doing it. Believe what you will. So,
yeah, I don't know how I feel about. I don't. That's interesting. I mean, to me, if the characters are that well written, they do kind of bring about a life of their own. So I don't know.
No, I can see what you're saying, and I think we can still coexist in the idea that the characters become so real that you know what they are going to do. that you have rounded them out, even if it's in your subconscious after a point. That's why, like, not so much with comic book work, which is frequently on a deadline, real tight deadline, but like for something where I've got a little room to maneuver, like prose, um, sometimes the act of writing that character helps me understand the character, because putting them in situations and you give them personal qualities that either will help them overcome the challenge or fall prey to it. All of this helps round out the character. So you're a better writer, I think, at the end of your story than you were when you started, and you know your own character so much better. So then you go through that next sweep, and it's like, oh, I forgot she is left-handed, or I forgot she likes chamomile tea and not Lipton. Yeah, and it's those little touches, I think, that really round out a character and make it interesting and more relatable for the reader.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
interesting.
not. It sounds from what Dan is saying like he kind of thinks like the characters have a life of their own. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
like we said. There's different approaches to these things. Um,
exactly.
Dan is saying, in my mind, the ultimate supernatural show would be the car wandering around the world looking for heroes to fight the evil entities. What? I'll
Dan,
tell you
there's
what.
your next book. There's your next book, brother.
I was just gonna say, you have to write that before one of us steals that idea.
Yeah. Well, think of it as Christine Supernatural meets Christine,
Right.
except Christine is benevolent.
Exactly. So Dan
Yeah.
is saying sometimes you have to make your own myths to fit your own concepts. World building is fun. Yeah, I mean, so far I haven't met anybody who's been mad about it, but I do definitely play fast and loose with all of the fairy tales and myths that I write about. And I also I'm always a little bit nervous when somebody buys one of my cryptid comics. People who
Yes.
tell me like, "Oh yeah, I really love cryptids." When they buy my cryptid comic book, I always think to myself, "Oh God," because like I mean, none of the stuff that I write is scientifically accurate or anything like that. So yeah, I get a little bit nervous about that sort of thing. Um, Carl's saying, as much work as my last couple of books, where I am
Uh,
now
I
realizing that I want
I
to
get
retire.
that.
Yeah, sorry, I have to plug my computer in.
I
Um,
I won't let you, Carl. I won't let you.
yeah, I'm curious,
You're
Carl.
too good.
I'm curious what you're working on now. I always forget to ask. Same thing with Dan. I'm curious if you guys want to let us know what you guys are working on now. Dan says, Brian, I've actually seen a comic book series that started with all the hero characters
Hmm.
dying. I mean, I think there's been a
Hmm.
couple things like that. I mean, um, Invincible didn't quite start that. I mean, I think they were on
It was
like
close. Yeah.
issue they were on like issue 8 or 9 when like all
Hmm.
the what would have been the main characters all kind of died. Um,
Yeah. And I remember a series, very short-lived series, unfortunately, because it was wonderful. Marvel did back in the late '80s called Strike Force Morituri.
you might be
And
talking about the same thing
Morituri
as
was what
Dan.
the gladiators. We might be, yeah. And the idea that was that after like the end of the year and a half, none of the original characters would be in it, because Morituri, I think, is Roman or Latin, whatever, for "We who are about to die salute you." And it was a group of it's a science fiction thing, distant future, and all of the characters were given superpowers that would kill them, but they did
Uh,
so for their own reasons. It was a really, really marvelous series.
so Dan is saying that they came back even stronger. Short-lived series, but the 8 or 10 issues that resulted were amazing. Yeah, that's why I'm saying maybe you guys are talking about the same comic book. I
Might
don't know.
be, might be. Yeah.
Dan is saying, in my work, I am taking dictation of what the characters are saying and doing. I'm not plotting a story as much as narrating something they are gifting me with. Okay. Um,
That's a good way to think of it. I can't do that though because I fall in love with my characters talking to each other. And
Oh,
so then I've got like 20 pages of what looks like a novelization of My Dinner with Andre. So,
right. Yeah, that can be hard, especially younger writers. I noticed have a tendency to do that, right?
oh yeah, yeah, and I was younger when I did that. So,
So Donna is saying
thank you,
scientific
Donna.
accuracy
Thank
is
you.
highly overrated. Well, for me, the fun
Yeah, and
of
considering that
League,
I was raised on comics,
yeah. Well, I was gonna say for me,
I
the
was going to
fun of
say
League,
that we were raised on Superman. That's as scientifically improbable as any comic you're going to find.
yeah, um, yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, for me, the fun of League of Cryptids is taking uh what we know about those
Mhm.
guys and then kind of twisting it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't want to do a scientifically accurate. Which I mean, the idea of doing a scientifically accurate cryptid comic book is stupid, anyways, because we don't know 100% what any of these things look like, anyways.
yeah. Nobody's going to go out and measure the wingspan of the Mothman or anything. So,
So Carl says he's not doing anything at the moment, but he might release a book that he wrote a long time ago. Okay,
cool.
interesting.
Good.
Um,
Good deal.
I'm I'm curious. I don't know if you want to keep it tight to the vest until you release it, or what's going on with that. But I'm you've keyed my interest.
Yes.
Donna says that she agrees with Dan. Uh, her characters make a movie and then she writes it down. Okay, interesting, interesting.
Don, you and I have a similar approach. I see myself as, I always see this stuff as a movie, even my comic work. But I'm doing like either the comic book adaptation or the novelization of it.
Yeah.
And that's how I get at least the action and everything. Then the second pass is to add like more sensory stuff.
Mm.
Appeal to the five senses and do a little more in-depth thinking on those things. So, but no, we're not too far apart.
I mean, I think it depends on the situation too. I mean,
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
about you, but sometimes I I'll start writing something and then sometimes it does feel like it's just flowing through me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
And other times it's hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. I admit that I've become much more thoughtful about my writing in recent years. Like
Oh,
I was doing scripts for a company, and it wasn't unusual for me to get like a 6-page script done in 2 days. But then I started doing a little more thoughtful, putting a little more thought into it, and hopefully rounding out the characters a little bit better. And every now and then, I'm one of those writers that for instance, I'm writing a weird western right now, and I have like the doctor in town giving everyone laudanum for everything that's wrong with them. It takes place in 1886, but it's like I had to think, well, did they still have laudanum back then? So I have to run to Wikipedia or Google or someplace and look. Did they have? Because somebody. I'm going to put in there that we can't give you laudanum because they quit making it 10 years ago, and somebody who does know what they're talking about is going to contact you and tell you what an idiot you are, and
right,
probably on some public forum, and so that everybody knows what an idiot you are.
right. Yeah. So you do worry a little bit uh, about your books being scientifically accurate, or maybe not scientifically, but maybe historically
Historically
accurate.
accurate within reason, because I like to put most of my stories in the world we know.
Right.
So, unless I'm writing like futuristic science fiction, which I haven't done that much of, but uh, like when I wrote the Major Marjorie story, I needed to know what were the popular shows of the day, because I like also write when I do especially historical stuff, write it as if it was written during that time. So I'm using topical references like in Skyman, the original Skyman Battles of Master of Steam, I had a mention of the song um oh god, what was it? Deep Purple.
Oh, okay.
and I had to put in there at the time that my story takes place, they had not written the lyrics for Deep Purple yet. That
Oh,
was originally an instrumental.
oh,
And so
interesting.
you put little things like that in there, and I know that somewhere there's like 3 people who are total music aficionados are gonna go, "Ooh, he knows his stuff." So,
Let's hope that happens.
got them fooled.
So now we mentioned before the show we were talking, and you said you don't ever want to do another Kickstarter. Um,
Yes, I
so
was
I should
traumatized.
ask. So this is a two-part question. So
Yes.
how do you release your books now? Um, if you're not doing Kickstarter, what distribution method do you use? And what was so traumatic about the one Kickstarter you did?
Okay, well, for books, it's kind of different than with, say, comic books, in that we've got this thing called Amazon, which is probably what's more comic people should take advantage of. Now, I know the printing, uh, can be iffy, and I know that the cost of the per unit can sometimes be prohibitive, so you may be asking for, you know, if you just ponied up and send it to, a print on demand comic book printer, you might get, like, one price for, printing, and then with Amazon, you might have to pay this much.
Right.
So, you know so that factors into your pricing and such. But, just in the 13 years I've been doing this for books, we have, like I said, we've got Amazon, we've got, um and through them, we have, like, global distribution, plus there are many other venues, such as if we go through, um I use Draft to Digital now. Draft number 2 digital.com. They're not paying me to say that, but their print quality is done through Ingram Spark. And because they're tapped into the Ingram Spark network, I have the potential to get into retail outlets and schools and libraries, which is something that Amazon does not do a lot of. Now, I give up certain privileges with Amazon as a result, but in balance, it works out better. And 2 of my books right now are in Hoopla, Hoopla, and Overdrive, which are 2 services that public libraries use for their patrons. And you can check out ebooks, audiobooks, movies, TV episodes, comic books, graphic novels, and I have 2 books in Hoopla right now. And I may have more in Overdrive. I don't know if I haven't checked it lately, but we have more options for distribution, not just regionally or in this country, but in around the globe. And like I said, that there are I have seen some people at least get a foothold in Amazon, and especially if they've got like a graphic novel or a compilation of their stories. Like I said, the print quality directly through Amazon can be a little iffy, but if you go through some place like, say, Ingram Spark, or I know that Carl and Donna love Lulu.com, and
Right.
I've seen their work. It's quality printing.
Yeah, I
Um,
have a couple of
you
the.
just have to do the research.
You know what? I have a couple of Carl and Donna's books, and I would grab them, but they're in a big pile next to my bed of books.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
it would take me forever to find them, but so one of the things, so something that an idea that I had was, Angie and I have a friend who works for Barnes and Noble, and
Mhm.
I texted her and said, like, would I be would you be able to ask the person who orders books for Amazon or for Barnes and Noble
Mhm.
where they like would you be willing to ask them if I could sit down and have like a cup of coffee with them and ask them where they get all their books from?
Hmm.
And our friend said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely."
Cool.
So, I mean, the main question is going to be, where do you order your books from?
Hmm.
But the secondary question is, what makes one book stand out from the other books?
Well, and from what I understand of the paperback book trade and hardcovers, um, the first choice they're going to make is the person they've heard of.
Right.
Okay, I've said for years that advertising, a lot of people say, "Oh, I got picked up by this publisher, and they're going to promote me, and they're going to distribute to Barnes and Noble." I am distributed through Barnes and Noble, actually. I got it done through Drafted Digital. Also several companies like Barnes and Noble and Books a Million and Walmart have what are called aggregator programs, in that they sweep the net and they offer the product or the book because they think they can get it from somebody, probably the Ingram Spark network in this case. Um, but getting into bookstores is another issue entirely. And some of us, I've got a friend in Evansville, Indiana, that's doing great, but he's going to bookstores one by one and getting them to order because there's an
Yeah.
issue with returns. There was a story about a year ago, I think it was, where somebody had gotten into the Ingram, I think it's the Ingram network, and his local Barnes and Noble had ordered like 100 copies of his children's book.
Oh,
And
jeez.
then and of course, you know, he gets sent a check from, the publisher, whoever. Well, then the bookstore, after a time, gets to return the unsold volumes. And it turned out they didn't sell one of them. So
Okay.
now this guy has a negative balance with uh, whoever did his distribution, whether it was Ingram or whoever. But he now has a negative balance with them. And he's got 100 copies of his book he's got to move. Now he's managed to move it. He's done some quality promotion on it using this story, but um, returns can be an issue for people. It's happened in the audiobook field. Um, I haven't heard of it really happening in comic books, but still, that's the thing when you go to an organization that can return your stuff. You may wind up getting burned, or it may be the breakthrough you need. There's only one way to find out, and that's to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the point that you were trying to get at was, you don't necessarily need a publisher. Um, when I talk to people a lot, and when people send me emails and ask, how did you get to be, a published comic book creator? I'm always very patient with them because I think back to
Sure.
how patient you were with me, explaining this stuff to me.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I always hear is like, how do I get my foot in the door with a publisher? And my first comment is, you don't. You
No,
publish you publish these books on your own,
what he's
and then
saying.
maybe 5 years down the road, maybe a publisher gets interested. But
Mhm.
I think there's a lot. I think there's an argument to be made now. Like, what's the point in a book publisher?
Mhm.
Even if you are Stephen King or whoever,
Right.
publish them on your own.
Well, that's the thing. Stephen King has the advantage of being Stephen King. I mean, he started this uh, before a lot of people that will be watching a show were born. I
Right.
can remember when he was just Stephen King before he put out Carrie. So he's had the advantage of becoming uh, iconic, but and the ruler by which the rest of us are judged in terms of our success.
Right.
Um, but You make a good point about you don't necessarily have to be published by somebody else. I tell people I've got a business card, but the one that's done me the most good is this.
Oh yeah.
People see that I can, other editors, other publishers can see that I do the work. I can do the work. I can sell them. I can promote them on my own. And so that's led to my picking up work in other books and other books and other books.
Oh, okay. So you're getting jobs in like anthologies like that
Mhm.
other people are putting out. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a good way to get your name out there. One, I get to play with other people's characters, which is kind of fun.
Right.
Um, and also, like, let's take this one here from Stormgate Press. Um, it's got me, Clyde Hall, John C. Bruning, L.S. Goodsich, and Charles F. Millhouse. Now, all of these other 4 people have circles. And now I'm in their circle, like a Venn diagram. And
Right.
also they're in mine. So I'm being seen by Clyde's fans and John's and Charles and LS's here. By the same token, their people are seeing me. And so I benefit from it. We all benefit from it. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So,
Well, and
now,
I'm
like I
sure.
say, I don't poo poo traditional publishing. There are some people who don't want to do the work. And unfortunately, a lot of them have this myth that, okay, I get picked up by a publisher. I get picked up by a Cornfield Press over here, and next thing I know, I'm going to be on, everybody's talk show in 2 weeks. That's not how it works, kids. But
Right.
but the thing is, you show consistency in production. You show your work in the best light it can be held in. Make sure all your prose is edited. Get the best cover you can afford. Just lots of little things, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money either. So self-publishing is not the purview of the rich or the wealthy. I can vouch for that. But if you do it right, past books will pay for future books.
That's the
You take
idea,
the
right?
profit from book A, parlay it into book B, and then you print that book, and now you've got book A and B making the income for you, hopefully. So
So I do
you
want to
have to
go through
treat
the
this like a
comments a
business,
little.
though, is the bottom line.
I do want to go through the comments relatively quickly,
Yes,
especially
please.
because Donna's complimenting me. She says, "I love what you're doing with Beowulf and the Cryptids." Thank you so
Agreed.
much, Donna.
Agreed.
Carl says, so this is the idea for his next story. Aliens come to Earth in search of beer. At first, I thought he said Hillary ensues. No, he's saying hilarity ensues.
It
I was
comes
like,
down
oh,
to the
political?
2016 election.
Yeah, I was like, is this a political statement?
I
Okay.
love that idea just as much.
So Dan is saying The Cat and the Crow is my next novel to finish, prompted by a photo on the internet who I can attribute to anyone. Oh, okay, who I can attribute to anyone. Okay. But it is a classic fantasy quest story. I have 75% of it done.
Good
Cool.
work,
Love to
Dan.
hear more
Good
about
work.
it, Dan. Dan is saying, Carl, tell them to come to HelloCon and tell us to finish off those kegs of beer.
I
Oh, I
can't
didn't know
drink.
that you guys drink a lot of beer when you guys go to HelloCon.
I don't. I actually these days I'm more of a teetotaler because I have medicine that is
Right.
post heart surgery medicine that's not I'm told specifically I cannot drink anymore, which is
Oh,
killing
no.
me. It's killing me, people. Uh,
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're still here with us, though.
Thank you, thank you. I am too. I have many harrowing stories from that time, but it was a good experience overall, and I'm glad I'm here too. Because who's
So
going to
Dan
tell
is
boss you
saying,
people around?
Dan is saying we can finish the kegs and go back to our warm rooms. And Dan says that's not because I will be wearing a kilt in 2 weeks. Oh, okay. I'm sure Donna will
Thanks for
enjoy
the
that.
warning.
Dan says that he likes his kilt. It's comfortable and he likes to wear it. And he says, no, I will not be regimental. No Scottish law requires that. At first, I thought he was trying to say sentimental, but no, I think he does mean regimental.
Yeah, I'm just. Does this mean he is or is not wearing underwear?
Oh
that's
boy,
the true mark.
you know what? I'm going to leave that question to Dan. I'm not going to ask that.
Dan, inquiring minds. Hey, Joe.
Joe is here. Joe is saying I
Hey,
want
Joe.
to check out Overdrive and Hoopla sometime. So,
Yeah, I know that I think the Fowler, was it the library in Fowler, Amanda's library has one or the other. I know the Lafayette, the Tippecanoe County Public Library System where I'm at has Hoopla. So, but yeah, it's a great service. You check out X number of books a month or X number of products a month, and then you have to return them like a regular product. So yeah, it's worth checking out.
everybody's saying hi to Joe, and Dan said, "Where are you going with that snowplow in your hand?"
Dan and I are probably the only two that's going, oh, Jimi Hendrix, yeah. Maybe
Oh,
Carl
okay,
Peralta.
I get it.
Yeah,
Dan says, "I
yeah.
remember when Stephen King was in kindergarten." Yeah, I don't know about. I don't know if I believe that, Dan. But okay. And and Dana is saying that he will be wearing underwear, and apparently
Probably a
Donna's
smart
green
move.
boy.
Yeah. She demands authenticity in her kilts.
So
For
Brian, I know
sure.
you said you've had a lot of stories come out in the last couple months.
Yeah.
I guess so, but you said you're still busy, so
Yeah.
you must have more stories coming out. Like, what's your next big project?
Well, I'm currently working on a book that I don't like to announce projects until they've been formally accepted, but it's a weird Western and a sequel to a classic novel. I will put it that way.
I mean, I think
Um,
that's vague enough that you
yeah.
can't get in trouble if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, I'll print it. What the heck? But then after that, in 2026, um, I'm going to finish up the second book in the Terror series. I've got the first draft done. I've also got the first draft in one of the two spin-off books, which will be it'll start with the origin of the Cobalt Scarab, and we'll also have the origin of the Terror Twins, based on the original comic books, incorporating the plots and even some of the dialogue and captions from them. And we're hoping to launch a series of books where we use the original stories, which admittedly were, technically speaking, dumb as hell. And we're going to try to make them palatable to a contemporary reader. Because as much as I love some of the writers that did some of this stuff, some of it has aged like milk. Okay, it's not very wholesome, and we are going to try to take away the rough edges and smooth it out a bit. I've also got a couple of anthologies I'm going to be working on, including one for a character that I had in Pulp Reality #2, Doc Saga. We're finally going to see that out, much to the relief of my contributor, because I've been sitting on that thing for years. I'm also going to do, I'm hoping to get a horror anthology done, which is why I'm letting one of my books go out of print. The Haunting Scripts of Bachelor's Grove. On November 3rd, that book will no longer be available because we're going to cannibalize that thing and turn it into a how to write book and a with new examples, as well as reprint a couple of the stories along with some new stuff. And Cookie says I'm getting Volcana 2 done next year. I don't know if she knows something I don't, but yeah, we got a lot of projects lined up, which is why I want to clear my plate in 2025. Plus, I've got a couple of comic book things coming up that I'm excited about doing, that I'm getting to work with some cool people on, and some horror stuff, which I find I'm enjoying writing to a very unholy degree. So yeah, we've got things to amuse me and allegedly keep me out of trouble. As the jury's still
Now,
out on that.
now, do you enjoy doing the comic book stuff as much as you do prose, or do you have a one or the other that you prefer?
If I had to say if I was told I could only choose one, I'd pick prose. Why? Because it's easier. because there are, and part of the challenge of creating a worthwhile comic story to me is the limitations of the format. Because with prose, I can take, especially if I'm writing a novel, I can take all the time I want to describe whatever is there and take advantage of the movie screen in your mind. Whereas in comics, I have to take a frozen moment that represents that can represent a lot of time or just a fraction of a second, but it's up to me to this is definitely where you hear a lot of people say, well, writing, you should show but not tell. And the best comic books are show, don't tell. And so and plus you have limitations in dialogue because you are limited to about 25 to 35 words per page, or per panel rather, a couple hundred per page. The story has to flow. Plus, like in, it's harder to do in prose, but you have to get something in comics to make the person look at the next page.
Right.
So, so there's a lot of mechanics that go into comics that you can pretty much skip in prose, but I love them both. But like I said, I like the challenge of writing comic books. Just like I was given a challenge this year, and I helped write a movie script, and I'd never written a movie script before, and it's a rom-com. And as you know, I don't have a mind for rom-com. Thank goodness I had Thomas Peake was a great collaborator, and was a great guide through this whole experience. Which, by the way, a little plug for me as an actor, as a co-writer, the movie is Dear Cupid, and it's going to drop on YouTube this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Central, on Thomas Peake's network. That's Peek. And he's got a lot of other cool stuff on there, including Rose City Christmas, which I was in last year, and we're working on the sequel right now.
I was going to bring that up. I saw that.
Yes, Mr. Colehart is back, and I do hope we do I suggested we do a behind the scenes feature for these things, and I hope we do one this year because apparently I scared a whole bunch of car enthusiasts with my antics. So,
okay, so I'm going to read a few more of the comments, and then
yes, please.
we're gonna plug anything you have, not in a sexual way, but
Goodness.
Dan is saying, Grant, I will be 68 next month. I remember a lot of history, both musical and practical.
You're a kid. I didn't know you were so young.
And Carlos letting everybody know we got the collector's edition of Bachelor's Grove. Oh, so bragging.
Collector's item classic there. That'll fund your college.
So Dan is saying, I wish people would stop running Aphelion ads. It almost died this year because of stress and depression.
Oh.
I want to bring it back, but depression is a horrible episode.
I'll go with you there. I think depression and imposter syndrome are probably the two most prevalent mental, I hate to say handicaps, but mental problems that a lot of creative people have. So Dan, I hope you get over it soon if you haven't already, buddy. We can discuss it at Alicon.
So, Brian, do you have anything you want to plug? Anywhere like on social media that people can find you?
Do I want to plug? Call me Power Strip. We're going to have so many plugs. You can find me on Amazon. You can find me on almost any platform that sells books, including Walmart, Books A Million, the aforementioned Barnes & Noble. And I'm in anthologies such as the wonderful Atomic Stories, published by Kelly Austin, and Stormgate Press's Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland, Part 3, Chapter 3. That just came out. And if you like adventure, that's good stuff. And Shutter Stories from Becky Books. Jim Beard writes a wonderful lead-in story, and Frank Childender and I are in it also. And behind a wonderful Jeffrey Hayes cover, that's Plasma Fire Graphics, When the Look of Your Book Matters to You.
And then I'm also into a nonfiction book called Jack of All Comics. You know that guy based on the cover of Fantastic Four #1. That's Jack the King Kirby. This book covers his career from 1960 to the end of his career in the 80s. Find out why he's called the King. And of course, we have other books like the original Skyman Battles Masters theme, the best-selling Santa Sign book, which we're looking at maybe putting out a hardcover of this pretty soon. So go to risingtide.pub right here, and you'll be able to see most, if not all, of my output. Or go to Amazon and do a search for my name. Also, will I be doing any broadcasting? Chances are I will in 2026 once I get this stuff off of my plate, and we will start doing some more broadcasting. You might see a Clever Title Pending come back. We may be doing an episode of Between Two Brians soon with Brian Rodman. But other than that, I don't have anything going.
Oh yeah, you're probably bored.
Yeah. Sleep all day, sleep all night. What do I do?
So Dan is saying, I'm trying.
I know, brother. Stay strong.
Joe is saying, great show as always, Grant, and always great to see you, BKM.
Love seeing you here, Joe. Thanks for showing up.
Much, Joe. And Carl is agreeing with Joe.
Thank you for helping with it.
So thank you so much for being on the show, Brian, again. And thank you everybody who came to watch. We will be back next week. I don't remember who my guest is, but I'm sure it'll be somebody great. Thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful night.